Hello, I'm Janice and I hope you're all doing well. I think I've mentioned this in a previous video, but my grandma is Shanghainese, my mum is Shanghainese, and I am half Shanghainese, and I love Shanghainese food, like everything about it, from dumplings to, you know, stir-fried rice cakes to the cold dishes like drunken chicken, and honestly I miss it a lot. And in today's video we're going to be checking out a few places to get some of my go-to Shanghainese style food. Let's not waste any more time, let's start this food tour. So without further ado, let's head to our first destination for today and let's go chafe, which is eat rice, which kind of fits in this context. Anyway, let's go. The first restaurant on our list takes us to a small takeaway spot about a 3-minute walk from Burwood station. One of their signatures is their Long Bao, a Shanghai pan-fried dumpling with hot pork broth on the inside. They offer a variety of dumpling combinations on their menu. I've seen their menu before and I knew what I wanted, so it was a quick in and out. Now the first place we're starting with is a place called Yang's Dumplings here in Burwood. Now I've previously done a video on sort of my go-to place for dumplings here in Sydney, and you can check that video out if you want. But since I posted that video, I've had friends and I've had some of you guys message me to say that I really should try Yang's Dumplings, and so for today's video I thought what better time to give this place a go. So I've got two different types of dumplings, one is prawn and the other has pork, and they also offer chili oil and also vinegar. Okay, I'm not too sure which one is which, but once I bite into it I'm sure I'll be able to know. And I also know that there is some soup inside as well, so I'll be extra careful when biting into these dumplings. You definitely need to be very careful because the soup, it just pops out. So this one is a pork and prawn. The dumpling dough itself is a little bit thicker than I thought it would be, but it's still very flavorful and it's still very juicy on the inside. I do appreciate that the soup inside isn't scalding hot, because otherwise I would have definitely burnt myself with that bite. This is very delicious. The soup inside, it's a bit savory, it's a bit porky. There's like a pork flavor to it. So at Yang's Dumplings, once you go in, they already have a few boxes of the different types of dumplings sort of packaged, and all you got to do is you pay and they give you the box already. It's still warm, but you definitely have to eat it straight away because otherwise the condensation makes the base of these dumplings not as crisp as it should be. But overall the flavors are definitely there. All right, here is the other dumpling that I got. So this one is just the pork one. What I would suggest you do if you're having soup dumplings is to eat it with a spoon, because you know that the soup is gonna come out and you can catch it with the spoon and then drink all the excess that is spilt over. What I do love about these dumplings is that they're very generous with the meat that's inside, and the one that I had with the prawns are very fresh, and there's also a lot of that really flavorful broth on the inside as well. I do wish though that the base of these dumplings were a lot more crispier, but I'm happy with the flavors. And of course you can't have dumplings without vinegar. There's something about black vinegar that just elevates the flavors of dumplings. So let's add some to these right now. So what I've done is I've opened a little bit of a flap on the top of the dumpling, and then I've just poured in a little bit of the black vinegar, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of a drizzle of the chili oil as well, and then just take a one bite out. Whenever you add black vinegar, like black Chinese vinegar, to dumplings, I love it so much. I don't need soy sauce, I don't really need chili oil, I just need black vinegar with maybe like sliced ginger as well, and that is perfect. It's like the perfect combo with any dumplings. The juiciness of the pork and then the freshness of the prawns combined with that acidity of the vinegar and also the richness of the soup that's inside these dumplings, it's a perfect combo. The only thing that I wish it had that it doesn't have is that I wish that it had a more crispy bottom. I think that's why I'm such a huge fan of the dumplings that I get from my go-to restaurant. It's 257 Home Kitchen in Eastwood. Their dumplings are always like really soft on the outside, really crispy on the bottom, and then like you've got a good amount of juicy pork meat inside as well. We are pretty much done here at Burwood. We've had our fix of Yang's Dumplings, but we're not done with this video just yet. We are heading to another suburb that's also very close to Burwood. I think it's like 10 minutes on the train, and we're heading to a restaurant there that I used to go to quite a bit. So without further ado, Let's go there right now. We head back to Burwood Station and get on the train for a couple of stops before getting off at Ashfield. And here you can find Shanghainese restaurants all next to each other. Like, actually. We head to Shanghai Night, a family-owned institution where tasty handmade dumplings are made fresh every day. I've ordered just 2 things because I already had dumplings at Yang's Dumplings earlier. I've got a Xiao Long Bao, and we're also having a pork chop noodle. I'm not doing it justice in the way that I'm describing it, but this is, I think this is Shanghainese, but I just love it. I love this type of noodle. It's like so mean. It's delicious. Okay, first bite of the Xiao Long Bao. This is what it looks like. I mean, I'm sure you all know how it looks, right? What I typically do is I bite the top off and then let it cool down a little bit. Maybe add a little bit more vinegar to it as well. I don't know if that's the right way to eat it. I've just always ate it like that. But yeah, and I do like how, you know, you can hold these dumplings and you can see a little bit of the soup that's sort of weighing down on the dumpling skin, but it doesn't pop. That's why it's so important to eat these Xiao Long Baos and dumplings essentially as soon as possible, because otherwise the skin gets a bit more tougher and the soup isn't as hot, and then it just, yeah, it's just not as nice. Dumplings is one of those things that you have to eat ASAP. I've also got the fried pork rib noodles, which is a little bit different to how I remembered it, but this still smells very, very nice. So this one they use egg noodles instead of I think the wheat noodles, which is the white one. But I'm excited to try this anyway because I haven't had this in a while. So here goes our first bite of the noodles. Okay, this is the pork, and these pork chops, they're marinated before they're fried, and the soup tastes very similar to the taste of the pork chop. Look, these pork chops, they're not like melt in your mouth, but they're not too chewy, and they've got a good flavor to it. And this pork chop is a bit like, I don't know the English name for it, but it's like a hengmao zhupa, which I'll find the English description and then put it here. It also comes with 2 things of bok choy, 2 stalks. The bok choy just soaks up that flavor of the broth. You know, these noodles are good, man. The next thing that we've got is a Shanghai fried handmade noodle with pork and vegetables. This is what it looks like. This, the Shanghai Night, is exactly how I remember it. With these noodles, I always add vinegar to it as well. I don't know why I love vinegar so much. Like, my favorite style of chips is salt and vinegar. In addition to the thick stalks of bok choy and then the shredded pork, they also have like sliced Chinese mushrooms in there as well. So here is my first bite of these noodles. I think Shanghainese food is typically more on the oily side. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just my experience with it. I love it, don't get me wrong. These noodles are quite chewy, it's al dente, but it's really good. I really enjoy it. All right, here is a bite of the Shanghai Night with some black vinegar. The acidity just makes everything taste better. If you do come to this restaurant, definitely try more of a variety of their dumplings. I've only had the Xiao Long Bao this time around, but they do a very good Sanjin Bao, which is a pan-fried dumpling, and they also do pretty good woti, which is also like a pan-fried dumpling. They handmade this in store every day, and you can see them making it. So yeah, definitely give those a go. We're pretty much done here at Shanghai Night here in Ashfield, but we're not done with this video yet. We're actually leaving Ashfield, going to another suburb where I show you another restaurant that I love a lot. This next restaurant is a place called 257 Home Kitchen, and it's a restaurant in Eastwood I've featured before because I love their dumplings. But in addition to really delicious dumplings, they also have really good dinner options, and this part of the video will be all about that. Right now, I'm going to show you exactly what we typically order when we go to a Shanghainese restaurant. We've ordered about 5 to 6 dishes, and when it arrives, I'll show you exactly what they look like. So what we've got in terms of appetizers is the drunken chicken and also the Shanghai style baked prawn. So the drunken chicken, it's actually like marinated in this wine. It's served cold, and I find it extremely appetizing. Typically, we don't drink the wine that's marinating this chicken, but my grandma, He typically just like drinks it all anyway because she loves it so much. And the chicken, because it's been marinated in that yellow wine, you can really taste that flavor of the alcohol there. But I don't think you'll get drunk if you were to eat the entire thing of the drunken chicken. Next up, in terms of appetizers, we've got the Shanghai style baked bread. And in here we've got Chinese mushrooms, we've got wood ear, we've got bamboo shoots, and we've also got these Prawn. It's quite spongy. It's a little bit like tofu puffs in that it soaks up the sauce that it's in. Next up, we have a special item. We only have this when we are with a big group of people, and I never have this alone. This is a whole fish that's been scored, battered, and then fried so that it looks like it's, blossoming before being drizzled in a sweet and sour sauce. You end up getting little nuggets of fish that, if done well, is crunchy on the outside and then really flaky on the inside. This one also had prawns that are scattered around. It's actually really difficult to make at home, and we usually only eat it when we're celebrating something or during Chinese New Year. It is quite sour, this one, so you definitely have to eat it with rice. I wouldn't order this entire fish if you're here alone. I reckon at least 4 people. Like, if you have at least 4 people eating with you, then you can, think about getting this fish. But if you're alone, like, that's way too much for one person. And when you order something like this, you have to order rice with it as well, because that's something that goes well with rice. It's not like when you go to a restaurant and you order a thing of fish and then you have it to yourself. This is not one of those situations. You can still actually taste the fish, and it doesn't get lost in the batter and the sauce. The batter is still quite crunchy as well. And then the sauce is like your typical sweet and sour sauce that you would get, say, with sweet and sour pork. And it's perfect with rice. Okay, and seeing as we are here, of course we had to order dumplings, and we've got Xiao Long Bao, which is my absolute love. It's delicious. The wrapper is thin, the meat is juicy, and there's a pouch of soup inside. It's perfect. Next up, we have the Shanghai style stir-fried rice cakes with wild vegetables and pork. It's quite salty, it's quite savory, but the rice cakes is really nice and chewy, which is what I love about it. The pork slices are actually quite tender. So the rice cakes are quite soft, but it's still very chewy, and it's very good at absorbing the sauces and the flavors that's in the dish. This dish itself is actually quite savory. I do enjoy the vegetables and also the pork slices, which is actually quite tender. It's like the perfect combination of protein and vegetables and carbs. I've talked about Dan noodles before. It's more a Sichuan dish, but every time we come to 257 Home Kitchen, we always get it. This time it's no different. We've got Dan noodles again. It's got a bunch of different flavors. It's slightly spicy, it's nutty, you can taste a bit of the vinegar, and a bunch of different textures. It's got minced meat, preserved vegetables, and the crunch of fried peanuts. It never fails to disappoint. Okay, so we have some leftover rice, and that sauce that the fish is in is so incredibly appetizing that I can just use that sauce and finish the remainder of this rice. And that pretty much concludes our time here at 257 Home Kitchen, and that's pretty much it for the video as well. If you're still watching, thank you so much for watching till the end. I post new videos every week, so check them out if you have time. Have an amazing rest of the week, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! I only really know 7 Shanghainese phrases. When I was a kid, I had to learn Mandarin and Cantonese, but Shanghainese I never spent time learning. I know things like "nongfele," which is "what are you doing?" "Shou basi," which is cheeky child. "Sa o sa si sa pi," which is pee, poo, and fart. And also, "Shang mi kong," which is what my grandma used to say to us when she gave us a kiss. It translates directly as fragrant cheeks, which is why I guess she would sniff our cheeks when she was kissing us.